how the SQL Server works. Architecture. This is an important question. Architecture of SQL Server. If someone tells us, many real-time developers also, they can't talk about this because see, these are few things which we do not deal with in our day-to-day lives. We know the operations, we are working on the software, we are using the tool, but the concepts behind it, the foundation behind it, we forget. And that should not happen as a developer. You should always uh, stay close to the foundations and the concepts that you learn in real time. So if I ask you architecture of SQL Server, many people will fail to answer this question, even being in the industry for many years. So let's understand what is the architecture of SQL. The architecture of SQL is nothing but a client server architecture. Okay. So server is basically the system where the SQL Server software is installed and it is running. Okay. And in the server, we can create databases, we can manage databases. So how these things work? So suppose say this is the client. Okay, client are nothing but the system, user system. Tumhara system is basically the client. And this is the server. Okay. So what the client will do, the client will send a request to the server, right? For example, I am searching something. What I'll do, I will send a request to the server. Sends request to the server. What will server do? It will receive the request. Once it receives the request, it will now process the request. Right? It will process the request and then it will give a response. Very easy. मुझे कुछ भेजा, मैंने उसको देखा, मैं अपने डेटाबेस में चेक किया, फिर मैंने उसका response दिया. So it is a client server architecture that we have in SQL Server. So my client using SSMS, I'm going to send request to the server. If I'm creating a database, I'm sending a request that please create this database. Now in that database, I'm creating table. It is a request that I'm sending. And now I am able to store data, retrieve data, manipulate my data, update data, delete data. So these are the requests that I'm sending. With the request, it will receive, my server will receive the request at first. It will process the request and it will give a response. Okay. So the time, suppose for example, if you go to Google and if you search anything, okay? So suppose you search DownTownCoders and you enter. As soon as you place the enter button, the time that is taken for that request to move from the client to the server is called render time. Or render time. That is called render. So what is render? Render is the time from the point the request is sent and is received by the client. Understood? This is the render time. It's an important concept. Okay, many people are not aware. 9 to 10 years of experience also, they might not remember these things. And it is called as, and there is called as, another thing is called retrieve. What is retrieve? That as soon as the client as soon as the server receive the request, okay. See by also. As soon as the server receives the request, it will start processing it. So the time calculated from the request being received till the response it gives to the client is called as the retrieve time. तुमने मेरे को पूछा कि पानी दो. So द टाइम यू सेड पानी दो, वहां से वो टाइम चालू होता है और मेरे पास आके जब तक वो पहुंचता है कान में पानी दो, so that is the render time. And now as soon as I got the command from you, I'm going to the filter, I'm taking my glass and I'm pouring the water and then I'm giving it to you. जब तक तुम्हारे हाथ में पहुंचा, and that is called as a retrieve time. Okay. So retrieve is the time from receiving the request till it is executed. The
Deep, there's one question.
Mhm.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
From where we come to know this render time? Means how long is time taken
So
on?
every activity that we do, there is a log file that gets created. Okay.
Okay,
And
at the
when
back end, it creates a log file.
correct. So every activity we do, there is a log file that we have in case my SQL is running slow. So at that time, I can go to the log files and I can check that how much time it is taking. Now, based on the time it is taking, then I can do the modifications on my queries. Maybe I'm doing it in a very complex way, which can easily be done. So that is called performance optimization. So we really need to work a lot on performance optimization because everything we can't control just by the way we work. There are
Okay.
sometimes, many a time you'll see your Tableau whenever you will be working in the Tableau environment. The most important question that they ask is, have you worked on performance optimization of reports on Tableau? What are the best approaches to get it done? So there is
Okay.
a log file that gets created at the backend. In Tableau, we have Tableau metadata report on the server, due to which we are able to find out this information, what is a render time and retrieve time. Okay.
Okay.
This log file, the informations, what is metadata? Metadata means data inside data. So already SQL Server is a database. Now, if it is storing information of its own system, that is called as a metadata. Data inside data, data of data. Okay. So Tableau stores information of its own reports, all the reports. कैसे कैसे काम कर रहा है, कितना टाइम ले रहा है, कितना मेमोरी ऑक्यूपाई कर रहा है. So that is called as the metadata report. That cannot be done in Tableau desktop. It can be done only in Tableau server, okay, because it's a server information. In desktop, we don't get. We'll talk about that during our practical speech. Understood what is a render time and retrieve time? So if it is taking more time to render, that means my request is not getting to the server within the stipulated time. If my render time is retrieve time is more, that means I am not fetching the informations at the right time from the server to the client, back to the server, back to the time from the server. Understood? So hopefully you are able to understand the architecture of SQL. It is a client-server architecture. The client will send a request to the server. The server, on receiving the request, will process the request and it will provide a response to the client. So this is a client server. Only few seconds of information can get your selections confirmed during the time of it. Understood? Itna bhi bol doge, your recruiter will understand that you know the architecture. Clear? Any questions from anyone in understanding this? So now let me open this. Once again, I'm saying, any questions from anyone? Please don't hesitate. हाँ मैं बार बार
No,
पूछूंगा,
nothing.
but जब ये
No,
स्क्रीन
no,
शुरू
Deep.
करता हूँ. So this is the first screen that you can see once you install SSMS. Okay. The first thing that you can see is the server type. So server type means SQL Server provides us many applications or in fact, many services that it provides. What are the services it provides? Database engine. So database engine is uh, particularly created for maintaining your databases, creating and maintaining your databases and the data. That is the database engine, and we are going to work on that. So we have analysis services, we have reporting services, we have integration services. These are the other different types of services that SQL Server provides. And also it has included Azure integration runtime, if you see. So cloud services was also a part of the application now. Okay, so these are the different services of Microsoft that you will get in terms of in terms of handling the data, modeling the data, transitioning the data, creating reports out of the data, and also the cloud communications. So we'll concentrate on database engine. So our server type will be database engine. So obviously, if there is a server, there should be a server name as well. So your server name will be by default your on-premise uh, on-premise device that you are using, which is your laptop and desktop. Okay. So this is my server name. And it depends what type of authentication you use. Um, Windows authentication, if you are using a genuine Windows, you can go with Windows authentication. It will authenticate you directly without any further problem. However, there is SQL Server authentication as well. If you go for SQL Server authentication, your login will be SA, server admin. Okay. SA in capital letters, it will be, and your password is 123. That is by default provided by SQL. Okay. You can go with any of these two authentications. There are other authentications as well. Not necessary. These are for organizations. So I have a genuine Windows, so I will use Windows authentication. You can also use that. And then you need to, so once you click on this, you need to click on connect. Sometimes over here, you will get an option which is called as something like require encrypt. Okay, checkbox आ सकता है यहाँ पे. Okay. If you get that, please click on that checkbox as well. I'm not getting it, so I'm not able to show. But in case if you get that option, so it is a requirement. So please check on that checkbox if you are first time getting into the system. Okay. So as soon as you click on connect, it will get connected to your server without any problem. Understood? Yeah. So you can do with these steps as well in order to check. So as soon as you connect to your server, you will see a page something like this. Okay. On the left-hand side, we have the Object Explorer window. Okay. This is the Object Explorer window. On the top, this is called as the toolbar. There are a lot of toolbars, a lot of activities that we can do on the toolbar. And on this side, this is the blue space. This is basically your canvas. Your canvas are distributed into two sections. One where you will be able to write your queries, and second is basically your output window. How you will get it? If you do a new query editor window. So this is the query editor window that will open. Take some time. Okay. So this is the query editor window where you can write anything. Okay. You can write any queries. You can create, manage your database management system from here. Okay. On the top, we have a toolbar. There are a lot of activities that we will learn slowly. So initially, we will talk about this new query editor window. Okay. And this window as well. So this is the databases that are available in your server. Okay. So this is your schema or database selector. Okay. It will help you to select the right database. I cannot work on any database. I will have to click on this drop down and I'll have to check what all databases that I have. Based on the databases that I have to select the database and I have to work on it. Understood? Otherwise, by default, it is always selected master. Master is the database that SQL Server gives you free that you can work on. And in the master, present. Now this side is the Object Explorer window. If you see here, I am getting connect option. When I click on the drop down, I can once again choose what all services I want connected. It becomes very easy to toggle the screens from here. So we are sticking to the database object, database entity. Okay, so this database, it will show all the different databases that I have created. It will reflect over here, and it will be on the top here as well, on the schema selector window as well. Okay. So now master database will be available in your system databases. So in system database, if you open, you will see there is a database called as master, model, MSDB, TempDB. Okay. So in master database, you have tables, you have views, synonyms, programmability, service broker. So these are different things and activities that can be done on a database. And suppose I'm creating a table. The table will be reflected over here. Okay. Suppose I'm creating a view. The views will be reflected over here. So that it has been segregated into folder structure. So if you see, it's like a folder. So right things will go at the right folder. So it becomes very easy for us to navigate. Suppose I'm creating a view through a command over here, create view, for example. So automatically this view will be stored over here rather than going into the tables. I can check my views only in the view section. Similarly, synonyms are there. Similarly, the stored procedures, functions, and whatever things that are there, it will come at their respective places. So this is the master database which provides all these information. So as soon as you create your database, automatically all these things, all this folder structure will be created by SQL Server. Okay. You do not have to you do not have to spend separate time to create all those things one by one in the folders. It will automatically create for you. Okay, understood? So now let's create a database. Okay, and we are going to do everything through commands and codes from day one. So all those things can be done using your toolbar as well. So right over here, if I right click, I can see new database. I can create from here. But we are not going to do this approach at all. Okay, every action that we can do over here can be easily done using coding. So from day one, we are going to focus on this. Okay, I'm not going to show any of the things from here, not necessarily. But if you want to explore, you can. But this is a very time-consuming process, and I don't like it. When no one means any SQL developer or any developer in the industry who's working on a database never gets the done like this, right click new database. How things are done, let's understand. Let's create our first code in SQL, which is creating database. And SQL is a very command specific language. Command specific means it's very easy. It is like you're talking to you're giving instructions to the system. Okay, it is so easy. Okay. So let's create a database. See, the instruction is so easy. Create database. You need to pass the name of the database. Let's create objects. Okay. Let's make it easy. So create database is the keyword. So create a database and the name of the database you need to pass. Now to execute a code in some databases, you might have to put a semicolon and execute. Here, it is not case sensitive. That means you can write this code in small letter, in capital letter, anything. You can make a combination of capital letter and small letter as well. SQL will understand. It is not case sensitive. Okay. But as a developer, it is very important that how you are writing the code from day one. Okay. So we will write our codes always in upper caps. Okay. Because some databases are case sensitive. They won't accept lower caps. They will always accept upper caps. And most of the databases are case sensitive, not SQL Server. So in those databases, we always write in upper caps. So here also we will practice writing in upper caps. So create database name to execute that
Jeet,
specific. Mhm.
I have a question. Actually, the command that we are given, that also needs to be in caps, like create database.
Yeah, this is only in caps. This is what I'm saying. This you can give in lower caps, no problem. But all the commands should be in upper caps.
Okay.
Okay? And we will use everything in upper caps. That will be much more easy. Okay?
Okay.
So to execute that specific code, you will have to select that code. Okay? Some databases you can put semicolon and execute it, but in SQL Server, you have to select it and then you need to click on execute. And then there will be the output window that will show you the message that whether it has got created or it has not got created. It has got created, and if you see, it is coming up with the completion time as well. It is showing the date and the time, how many seconds it has taken, all this kind of thing. So that means what it is doing, it is showing you the render time. Tuck, tuck, tuck. It basically shows the complete time, render and retrieve both. So both the times are getting reflected in a combination way. Now, as soon as the database is created, we'll see over here. So immediately it won't reflect. Okay, it is reflecting immediately. Sometimes it does not reflect immediately. What we can do is that we can click on right click, and there is an option called as refresh. If you refresh it, it will be refreshed and it will show immediately. Okay. So now my database has got created. So let's go to the database and see what it has done. So you see, Hogwarts database has got created. Now, if I open it, I'll see that all the folder structure has also got created inside it. Okay. Now, if I go to the database, and if I go to the properties of the database, there are a few things that you will see, and this is also another very, very important question. So this question comes in this way, that as soon as a database is created, there are two files that gets created at the backend. What are those files? So now, as developers, we sometimes get confused. What is those files? Because we do not use this file in our day-to-day work, but you need to have a very strong understanding of that. So now, when you go to the properties section, this window will open, okay? And there is an option called as files. Now, if you see that there are two files that's got created at the backend. If you go scroll to the extreme right, you will see the extension of the file as well. .mdf, .ldf. MDF stands for master data file. LDF stands for log data file. See, the name is also same. BPC underscore Hogwarts MDF, BPC underscore Hogwarts underscore log. So log file. So what is a log file? A log file is nothing but it will store all the relevant information in terms of, like, suppose say I have created a database, I'll have that information. Suppose you are coming tomorrow and you are updating the same database in my machine. So you might have deleted something. I don't know. So the log file will capture that information. So if I come next day and see that, then what will I do? I'll go to the log file and see that who are the people who have worked on my system and what was the last activity or at what time was it done. So I will get all the information from there. Okay. Master data file, on the other hand, will store all the information related to your master data. So as the name suggests, master data, it will store information about the database, the tables, what are the fields that are present in the tables. So all those informations are over there. Understood? Log data file are the activities that you are doing over here, like update, delete, restore, whatever backups that you want to create. So all those informations are present in the log data file. So no one will ask you in details like, okay, explain me the entire process, how to restore or something like that. But this question is one of my favorite questions that I ask during interviews, just to understand that whether the candidate whom I am interviewing understands the basic concepts of database. Okay, very important question. You can make a note of it, that this portion, when you will be revising later, then you can thoroughly revise this section as well before you go for interviews. Understood?
Yeah. Do we can open this file and read easily, or we require any other applications? A
Which
log
one?
file and
We can
for
read
log
from
file.
no other application is necessary. You can read it because SQL Server is giving you that option to generate the file. So I can read it from here as well without any intervention. Okay.
All the information we will get means altering or creating database.
Correct. So these are like JSON files that gets created. So
Okay.
using the JSON files means you need to understand how to study JSON. Once you understand that, you would be able to read what is happening. So you guys also can create the database that we have created, which is like DTC_Hogwarts, your class. So the next thing that we will do, if you see our chronology that we learned, that at first we create database.
Deep, can you please show again how you have created this database?
Nothing, just this
So,
command,
yeah,
create database.
just you have entered create database, this word, and what you did after that?
You will select it and click on execute.
Okay, okay. That I
Execute is,
missed.
yeah, execute is to run the command. Okay. You can
Okay,
press F5, the toggle key on your keyboard. You can press that.
okay. Yeah, thank you.
So once the database is created, the next thing what we need to do is to create the tables. Okay. When we create the tables, inside tables, we have columns. So without a column, I cannot define a table, right? So these two things will go simultaneously when I create a table inside a database. So how to create a table? Very easy. Create table. Suppose say table name. I want to give it employee. Now you can select and execute it, but it is very important that you execute at the right database. My master is selected. That means this table will be created in the master. I do not want to create anything on my master. I want to create on my database. So I will use DTC_Hogwarts. So now when I will execute it, this employee table will be created inside the tables folders of my Hogwarts database. So let's execute. So the syntax is create table and the table name. So create table, table name. Now I execute. Incorrect syntax. It is shown. Right. What can be the problem? So always, so when you get error, so it is very important that you debug the error really very well. Because if you do not debug the error, you don't know exactly where you are going wrong. Clear? So now if you see over here, it is showing incorrect syntax near employee. So can anyone tell what can be the problem? Someone who is from SQL background, maybe the others don't, but there are a few people who already know SQL.
Yeah, it is incorrect actually. We have to give that entity names in bracket with their
Entity
data types.
very good. So I will have to, so when I'm creating table, I told few things. My table should have columns. Without defining my columns, I cannot define my table. वो समझ ही नहीं पा रहा है टेबल बनाना है कुछ तो बनाऊंगा कैसे बना दूं इस टेबल टेबल में there should be headers. So now employee table should be there. So in the employee table, so the best way to write code, sometimes people write code like this, bracket में देके पूरा लिख रहा है. I do not do like this. I segregate it to different parts. So create table, table name is there. So inside the bracket, I need to pass all the information. That means I need to create my fields. Okay. So what are the fields? Suppose say I'm selecting employee ID. Okay. So I have to define the data type. Our next topic is data type. So for temporarily, I'm just putting something. Okay. For example, two fields I'm putting employee ID and the employee name. So what is my syntax? Create table, table name. Inside this parenthesis, I'm passing in the field names together with what type of data it will store. Okay. So now if I execute it in my DTC Hogwarts, if I execute it, so my table will be created. So immediately it won't reflect over here. If it reflects, it's great. If not, then I have to do a refresh. Let's see. Oh, it has got created. So now I can click over here and see the properties as well. There are a lot of other things that can be done using right click. You can explore. So if you see, if I open the table, I can see what are the columns that are present in the table. Employee ID, employee name, together with the data type as well. I can see if I've created any keys, any constraints, triggers, indexes, statistics, a lot of things are there. Okay? So that means all informations are segregated in their respective folders. So I do not have to like search. I can directly go to the right place very easy. So my table has also got created with a very, very easy instruction. Create table, table. Okay. And inside I am putting in the fields of the table. Now the concept comes, what is a data? Is the last concept of data type. As I am telling you that this is a relational database model.
Deep, I have question regarding this. So I have done same what you did, like employee ID, INT, comma, ename, but
Mhm.
still I got error like incorrect syntax near employee ID, EMP ID.
Yes.
Yes. Are you able to see my screen?
No. Okay, this guy. Yeah, I can see your screen.
Here.
Okay. So mHawk you have created. Awesome. Create table employee. Yeah, execute it once again. Till create.
Okay. Okay. So I missed to include this create table employee.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Otherwise, SQL won't understand. क्या कर रहे हो? अचानक से fields देते. You have to
Okay.
inside the table. I have the field. So think logically. Okay. Just
Okay.
don't think like okay, I have selected, might have selected that. Think that तुम क्या कर रहे हो? तो देखना गलती नहीं हो. Understood?
Okay, so you have like first executed this create table and then you have done this second one.
No. I executed all at one go.
Okay,
I've not executed separately. Initially, when I showed you that error, I tried to execute it separately. Then I told you that without fields, you cannot execute a table. So everything has to be executed at one go, from create till the last parenthesis, it should be at one go.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Others are also in the same page. Okay.
Yes.
So data type. This is a very, very important concept once again. Okay, this is also very important question that gets asked. So since it's a relational database modeling, so we will have to ensure that the right information gets at the right place. The right type of data should be there. Suppose if I have employee ID, my employee ID cannot be like 101.11. Can it be? Have you ever seen an employee ID with decimal points? No, right? So I will have to specify and tell once when I'm creating the table, I'm specifying the rules as well. This is the type of data I need. The end user cannot enter any value, cannot enter like in employee ID, they cannot enter their own name. It should throw an error. So that's the reason data types are defined when with any field. And SQL will not allow you to define a field without a data type. Okay. So now, when I am defining the data type, there are two things that I'm doing. One, I am maintaining the integrity of the data. And second, when I am entering the data type, I'm allocating a space or memory to that field. So I'm giving it some memory as well. So memory means that means it is able to now store information up to some amount. Okay. So different data types has got different capabilities. You do not have to know that what is the capabilities and that. But once when you practice more and more, you will understand what are the different capabilities of different data types. Nothing you have to learn by heart. So understood, there are two things. Data integrity is maintained and the space management can also be done. The memory management can also be done. So what are the different data types that we have? The first data type that we have is called character. So as the name suggests, it will only store character informations. That means string values. like A, B, C, A to C, okay, and A to Z. Small a to Z, capital A to Z. Both has got a different meaning, right? So it will only store character data types, okay? And now it can store up to 8,000 characters. This is the space, right? Up to 8,000 characters it can store in one field, not everything. In one field it can store up to 8,000 characters. Anything more than that, it will throw an error. Sometimes you might have seen that when you're filling a form, बहुत ज़्यादा लिख दोगे, so it will throw exceeded, number of limits exceeded, because you have exceeded the number of characters or the amount of space it has been allocated for. Okay. And this character data type that we have, it is like a fixed space. What does it mean? Let's understand with an example. Suppose I am telling evening can 10. 10 means only 10 characters are allowed. Anything more than that, it won't allow. So I have to define over here itself. If you have to define 8,000, then 8,000. I cannot define 8,001 because it will violate the rule of character. I can define up to 8,000, not more than that. So suppose say I have defined till 10. So now, suppose say I have a name. How many alphabets are there in this name? Let's understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. So there are 3 more. 1, 2, 3. So 10 are there. 10 alphabets can be entered because in this email. However, I'm entering only 7. So what happens to the remaining 3? As I told, it's a fixed space character. So it will consume memory for all 10 characters. That means that 3 character space is getting wasted. Wasted means it is consuming memory. Even if I'm not using it, but still it is consuming memory. Understood what character is doing? So character, it's a fixed space. So now, after many years, we came to be, not we understood it early, but we were always thinking that how to handle this, because a lot of memory was getting wasted because of this reason, right? So then came the concept of varchar. So what varchar does, it stores combination. First of all, it stores A to Z. It stores A to Z. It stores 0 to 9 as well. So that means it can store an employee ID, something like DWP100. It can store something like that. Here, you cannot store DWP100. It will only should be DW100 can't be stored. Here it can store. You can separately store 100 as well. So varchar stands for variable character. However, you cannot do aggregation over here. You cannot do 100 plus 200. It won't give you 300 because this is now treated as a string. This will be, so there is some concept called as ASCII values. It gets converted into ASCII values and then it will do the aggregation. You cannot do over here any kind of aggregation. So any kind of aggregation like salary, incentive, all those has to be defined with a different data type. You cannot do it in varchar. Varchar is only for a combination of string and numbers if you have that. This is a variable space. Variable space. What it does here, let's see. The same example I'm taking. So now it consumes only the relevant space and releases the extra space. Okay, very, very important question during your interviews about this. Okay, so it is defined like name, suppose say that, yeah, 10. So this 3 extra space that was present over here, which was getting consumed, even if I was not using it, in this case, it is getting released. So it becomes only 7 character space. I'm able to release the extra space. So what is happening? I'm able to manage my memory in a much, much better way as compared to this data type. But this data type came into existence after versions 2012. So if any of your organization is maintaining servers which are before 2012, you cannot use this data type. This data type only happens after 2012. So there might be companies like 20 years, 40 years, 60 years old companies, and they are still maintaining the old databases and platforms. So you need to understand in which platform you are working. Only then you can use Wildcat. Otherwise, it won't work over there. Understood? So it will only work with the versions after 2012. So in your version, in my version, it will work. But maybe you are working with a client, suppose say Citibank. Citibank is there since many, many years, and they are still using the old softwares. Why? Because migration takes a lot of tasks and a lot of money is invested, and any data, if it goes misplaced, it will result into huge loss. So migration activities does not happen quite unless it is extremely required. So it is high possible that you cannot use this varchar data type at all because of the limitations. Understood the difference between character and varchar, char and varchar?
Yes. But Divya, should should I use the data type as integer for the numeric?
I'm coming to that when you will go for integer. So I'll talk about most of the data types that we generally use. Okay, just we are learning on char and varchar as of now. Let's see what all other data types are. So let's have use cases as well. Then why characters are used? If varchar has come into existence, so from now onwards we should not use varchar. We can go for char. Sorry, we should not use char. We should use varchar. So characters are also very important. Suppose use case like state code. Like Maharashtra has MH, West Bengal is WB, Rajasthan is RJ, maybe pata nahi. Yeah. So, matlab, if you are storing a specific set of informations and you know that yes, I can get it done with character, then it definitely will go with character. Like phone numbers, the first 3 digits, like +91 that we have. So I can use that in phone numbers as well. So it depends. Suppose a country code you are using, country code USA, IND India, all those kind of. When you know that only 3 characters, 2 characters will come into picture, then definitely we'll go with that. Understood? So like policy premium, it is from 18 years to you suppose your company provides policy till 70 years. So you know from 18 to 70 only the data will come. So 2 characters will only go. Then you won't go for varchar. Because for varchar, computer or your SQL will have to do an extra set of operation to check that whether my memory is getting consumed or not. If it is not getting consumed, then it will release it. So there is an extra check that is necessary, and that is also consuming more time. Okay, that's the reason when you know that only specific information is required, I will only go with character, not that character. Understood? Clear? Awesome.
Yes.
So varchar also allows, together with this, it also allows special characters. Okay. These are the special characters that we have. So it also allows special characters. Okay. But special characters are not allowed by character data type. It's only varchar. Now, the next type of data type that we have is called integer data type. INT. Now let's go back to our mathematics. What are integer values? Which numbers falls under the category of integers? Can anyone tell?
0 to 9.
0 to 9. Okay. Anyone else? What are integer numbers? ये देखो सब mathematics हो रहे 7th 8th में पढ़े थे ये सब. Integer numbers, whole numbers, ये number. So 100 is not an integer. You have told only 0 to 9. So integer values range from minus infinity to positive infinity. Okay. It's not 0 to 9. Just it does not contain any decimal numbers. No decimals. So minus 3000 is also an integer. This is also an integer. Understood? So integer numbers ranges from minus infinity to positive infinity. Can be any number, but it should not contain decimal like 0.01. No, this is not an integer. Understood? So whenever you will work on numbers, then you will have to go for integer data types. Okay. Now this integer data types is also further categorized into multiple other as well. Like we have tiny int. Why these are important? Because every data type is providing a memory. Now, if you know that this is consuming this much only, then you won't use a bigger data type. You are going to use a small data type. Okay. Generally, we do not use tiny int, small int. We only use integer. But if you are a really good developer, you know your data really very well that this kind of information can only be captured, then definitely you will go for this kind of. So we have small int as well. Okay. Then we have int, and then we have big int. Okay. So these are the different other sub data types that we have. So I'll give you in notes what type of how much type of memory it consumes from which number to which number. So like tiny integer stores number from 0 to 255. It does not store any negative value. From 0 to 255 only it stores values. Small int stores like minus 32,000 to positive 32,000, something like that. So if you are really means interested in that only, then you will go for this kind of data types. Otherwise, you won't. Like for example, can you tell me this tiny int in which data type you can use, which type of use cases you can use tiny? What your common sense tells?
Mobile
0
number.
to 255.
Uh,
Mobile number 255. It's a 10-digit number, so it is more than 255. How it can be mobile number?
for department ID.
We can use it for age.
Very good. We can use it for age. A person cannot live after 255 years, right? For age, it's an appropriate example. We can go for tiny int. Understood? Employer ID, we can go with small int. It depends how many employees are there. Like small int ranges like minus 32,000 to positive 32,000. Like if you are a really big organizations like Cognizant, TCS, they are carrying like millions of, not millions, like lakhs of employees. So you cannot go with small int over there. You have to go with integer. Okay. And like very, very big numbers, if you have to handle, then you will only go for big int. So big int examples are, you say, we have examples. Your Aadhaar card number. It's a very big number that we have, right? 16-digit number that we have. So that will go with big int. I cannot handle other cards with integer data type. I can't handle that. I'll have to go with big int. Understood? So I will give you in notes. You will understand it much more better. Okay. So the next data type that we have is called is a decimal. So decimal, as the name suggests, that there will be a decimal point. A dot will come into picture. Okay. So now let me refresh your basics. So decimal numbers had something which is called as, let's see if you remember this, P dot S. Our numbers used to look like P dot S. P dot it means like 100, 1000 dot, what was there? 0, 0. This is a decimal number. So this falls under the category of P. This is dot, and this is S. So P stands for precision, and S stands for scale. So precision and scale. Okay. The number before the dot is precision. The number after the dot is called scale. Scale means number of digits allowed after decimal. Okay. If someone tells you my scale should be 2, that means it's a 2 decimal digit number. Understood? Because these terminologies, when your client speaks to you, might give you this information because they follow an international uh, number system, right? Our number system like ones, units, thousands, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh. They do not say lakh, 10 lakh. They will say million, 100 million, 10 million, billion, like this. So they basically talk in this. My scale should be like 1. So that is 1 digit decimal. So you need to relate to it. तुम ऐसे confuse आ रहे यार precision क्या बोला scale क्या बोला, then you will be confused. Okay. So these things will help you during your interactions. I'm giving you my experiences. For that reason, I'm sharing this. These are not necessary. This won't be asked in any of your interviews, but it's a good to know information. Okay. So now, can you tell me which number is a bigger number? 1,000 point, 2,000, 1,000.5. Which one is a bigger number?
As per my understanding, first one is a bigger. It will use more memory.
First one is a bigger number.
Both are
Okay.
same because after dot there is no value of 0.
Very good. Both the numbers are same number. I purposely gave like this 0. So and the value of 0 is very tricky. Okay. Anything after 0, a 0 after any number, especially in decimal point, after decimal, if you have 0, that value has got no value. Okay, that 0 has got no value. But if you put it
Okay,
over
so
here,
it is not taking memory to
no,
run
no,
execute the
these are
query.
same. Let me
Okay.
show you.
I also thought that that consumes the same, I mean, same amount of space.
See now. 1,000.59. Oops. Chala gaya na? So
Okay.
SQL is also, sorry, Excel is also treating in this way. Now, if I have to bring that, I'll have to bring it this way. How many zeros you want, you can put. But actually, this value is same. Okay, it won't consume anything. Same ही
Okay.
value है, वो क्या memory consume करता है? Zero के लिए, no. The value, the number, overall number. Okay.
Okay.
So now, can you tell me which number is a bigger number? Which number is a bigger?
The
First one.
Both are equal.
No,
Very
first one is bigger.
First one is
First
Both
one.
are both are
First
equal.
one.
First one. How can we both were equal? So if you
In
have
terms of
0,
memory, both number are utilizing same storage space.
अरे उतना store तक जाना ही क्या नहीं? My question was very simple. Which is a bigger number? I'm not talking in terms
Okay.
of memory. So
Okay.
even in terms of memory, this is more because this is a bigger number as compared to this. So the memory allocation will be bigger on this case rather than on this case. So point के बाद, if you have 0 before the digit, then it is a lower number. Understood?
Okay.
Point के बाद, if you have digits, so if this had been the case, like 1,000.5001, sorry, 501, then this would be a bigger number as compared to this. Okay.
My one question is does memory consumes according to the space or according to the value of integer data type? I mean, the value of data type, the amount of size of data type.
So everything, it actually, to answer to your question, it consumes both. Like for example, I am writing my name. Okay. So now it is a 4-digit data type. 4-digit, 4-alphabet name. Okay. Now suppose your name. Right. Let's suppose Arif. Now, which one is a bigger? I cannot say, just like this. Now I will have to deep dive into the ASCII values of it. Now D, what is the ASCII value of the E, E, T? Now summation of that ASCII value will consume a space. Now your case also, it will consume a space. Now based on the number of characters, I can't define who's consuming more space. But based on the ASCII value of it, I would be able to understand if my name has got more consumption of memory or yours. So it depends upon. So in both the cases, now if I tell directly like Aritra, so automatically I can see that more alphabets are involved, so your space consumption will be more. Understood? So it gets defined under the individual level and the overall level as well. Clear? I hope you guys are able to see my SQL screen again, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the decimal values will only accept decimal numbers. Okay, and even if you accept, even if you enter integer values, it will convert into decimal and will give 0.00. Right. Now comes your currency data type. So currency can also be defined as integer, right? However, we have a separate data type that is allocated for currency, which is like small money, and which is like money. But this data type is specific to SQL. Okay, this might not work in Oracle. Okay. There you might have to use integer. So this is a very specific data type that we have. It is only for SQL Server, small money and money. And then we have date data type as well. So date data type will store any date information that we have. Okay. And together with date, it also stores time. Okay. So when you specify, suppose say joining date, join underscore date, if you define like date, then it will store the date together with the time, whatever we want to pass. If I want to pass the time, it will also store the time as well. It also only allows time. It also allows only date. So it can hold only date. It can hold only time. It can hold date and time both. So the default, this is a very important question once again. The default date that SQL will store, the format of date that SQL will store is YYYY dash dash B. Okay, this is the date, default date it will store. Okay, understood? Remember this. Okay, whenever you will have to enter any date in SQL, you cannot enter like YY format. You will have to always enter in YYYY format, only then it will accept. You can retrieve the data in this format, but the storing should always be done in this. And whenever you are retrieving normally, you will retrieve in this format only. You have to use some special functions to retrieve it in this way. You have to convert it. Understood? Clear? And the last type of data that we store is called as binary data type. So binary, in which type of data this is stored basically? It basically stores like audio, video content. Okay. Or images also. Okay. So these type of data are basically stored in binary format. So we have binary, we have var binary. Why var binary once again is just like varchar. And we have n-var binary as well. Okay, so it is basically like audio, video, and images. So now I am talking to you over Zoom. So my recording, I'm recording this session. How am I able to store this recording? All the image. The images are broken into pixels. The audio file is stored in a different format. So it will break all those things that is happening. It is breaking all the conversations that I'm making with you, and it is storing it in a different format style. So that is called audio, video, and imaging. For that, we will go with binary data type. Understood? Suppose you go to a Google form and you see upload image. So that image will be either JPEG format, JPG format, PNG format. and at the back end, the type of data it is storing is a binary type. It will break it into its own in its own way, and then it will store it in the database. Clear? So these are the data types that we have. Now you understand the concept that whenever I am defining a field, I need to define the data type as well. Understood? So now I think you would be able to join the dots. Why I wrote INT and that. Without this, SQL won't allow you to do anything. Clear? Understood up till the concepts of data type? Awesome. So another thing that I would like to tell that there are some rules when you are defining the table. This is the last. Rules to define. Your table should always start with alphabet. Okay. There, your table name should not contain any space. No space. So suppose if you see, I wrote DTC underscore Hogwarts. I did not write DTC space Hogwarts. It won't allow. It allows special characters, but it does not allow space. How many characters it can store? 128 characters. More than 128 characters, you won't be able to store. A table. So this is an important question. How many fields can I store in a table? Yes, how many fields can I store? Can anyone tell? 1024 columns. More than 1024 fields, my SQL won't accept. And how many rows can it store? Can anyone tell? Common sense. Unlimited. This is my database. I'm storing informations. I can store up to infinity. The bigger the database, the slower it will work. That is the only disadvantage. But the advantage is that I can store n number of informations. However, in Excel, we can't say that. In Excel, it's only 1 million, like 10 lakh records can only be stored. We have an endpoint in Excel. However, in databases, we don't have any endpoint. It can store n number of informations. So these are the rules that you need to know when you are defining a table. Okay, it should always start with alphabet. There should not be any space. And these things are byproducts of it. It's not necessary, but it's a good to know information. If someone asks you during interview, if you say, then they will be very impressed. Understood? Clear? Any questions till to this topic? सब लोग है या ड्रॉप कर देगा? No, all of them.